Hello and welcome to Grind Slime TV with me, your host Aaron. And today we're feeling summery. I've pulled out the old Napalm Death shirt. Oh yeah, great demo. If you haven't heard it, make it happen. Now, on to today's subject. I thought I'd pull out some real true underground metal for you. This is a legendary release out of Toronto in Canada. I first came across this band when I heard Napalm Death do a cover of them, much like I did with Raw Power. So cheers again, Napalm Death. And then around the same time, not long after that, or it might have been before actually, I can't remember which way around it was, but I also heard Mortician's cover of FOD, and I thought, that's our band again, or vice versa, whichever one it was. So cheers to either band. And that is, of course, Slaughter and their album Strappado. Oh yeah, look at that, bloody hell. That is some proper artwork there. Let's get a proper look at that, shall we? Look at that, yeah. He's just, if that ain't cool, I don't know what is. And I'm a pretty cool guy. You've got all the lyrics in here, look, which is really cool. More little photos too that they've thrown in, which is always really nice. I always like it. They put the effort in. I mean, sometimes you get the booklets that are just plain black with the lyrics, and that's better than nothing. But when there's like an extra sort of, the extra mile thrown in, plus you've got some little zine appearances and whatnot there, and flyers, etc. I always think it's really, really cool. I love the old school kind of just your standard silver. That's always nice as well. And it has got a bit of art behind it, but I think it just says Strappado. You can probably just see the little letters through the hole there. But actually, should we have a look? Let's have a look. We're feeling dangerous. Let's do this. And oh, there we go. It's got your detail there, so you can. It's got the 1-2 fuck you down the side. That's pretty cool, which is of course from Tales of the Macabre. And look at that, yeah. All the recording info and the members and whatnot. So you got Dave, Terry, and Ron. Good lads, good lads. Now, before we get into the music, let's hit a bit of controversy, shall we? Because I know there's probably some Chuck Schuldiner fanboys watching this, thinking, "Oh yes, Chuck's amazing. It's all because of him." Nah, it ain't. All right. Now, I ain't taking anything away from Chuck. Death is a fantastic band, and his legacy will outlive most people's when it comes to extreme music, particularly as well with progressive death metal, the birth of death metal, all of that. He is a very important figure. I am not taking away from him. But you are taking away from these guys when you say Chuck had a hand in this and was responsible for it. No, he wasn't. He went and jammed with Slaughter for a couple of weeks, and from what I understand, it wasn't a good fit. They recorded a couple of rehearsals, two of which were Death and Mantis covers, and the other ones were songs that Slaughter already had, which are, obviously Chuck did not write. So no, this album has zero to do with Chuck Schuldiner, and I know all the fanboys and fangirls think he can do no wrong and want to give him credit for everything, but that's not the case. This is an absolutely independent release from Chuck, and again, not take anything away from him. The man was a musical genius, and I'll stand by that till the end of my days. I've heard those Death albums, and they are fantastic. But this is a separate animal, so no nonsense. So, onto the music. Now, a lot of people hear this and they go, "Oh, that's like first wave thrash." And I can see that. I can hear it too. They're very thrashy kind of vocals. They're sort of very crossover, sort of what I'd call loud, clean vocals. So it's not like they're good singers, but it's just their normal voice, just yelling and stuff, which is cool. But I also see the argument that this is first generation death metal too, because it's got so much elements in it that we hear in today's death metal and all the death metal that followed, really, be it down to the tremolo riffs, the fast drumming, the sort of half blasts that are put in there. There's you've got your thrash beats in there as well, but they're not quite done like the sort of traditional D beat as such. These are more just full-on skank. You know what I'm talking about? No, well, you know, that's just your simple, you know, drum kick, drum, jump, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. You know, that sort of thing, instead of the old sort of a back and forth, you know. So if that explains it in any way, but yeah, I know what I mean. Yeah, but also the guitar tone on this, pure HM2. Oh man, people call it the Swedish buzzsaw. They should be calling it the Slaughter buzzsaw, because those Swedish bands, they took from this sound, and you know, and they made it a staple in Swedish extreme metal. So I'm not going to take that away from them and say, oh, they can't have it, because you know, you think Swedish death metal, you immediately think HM2. But I'll bet you anything, all of those early Swedish death metal bands, when they thought HM2, I bet they thought of Slaughter Strappado, because it is raw as balls on this. Just absolutely filthy. The songs are catchy as hell. I mean, it's hard to pick a favourite. Incinerator, Tales of the Macabre, The Curse, and Conqueror did a really cool cover of that too. Death Dealer, they're all really good. There's not a bad one on the record, and I love that old school logo as well. Just, you know, with the red and the white, I just think that looks super cool. So yeah, Slaughter Strappado has so much more influence than people give it credit for, and I was finally able to get a hard copy of this either early this year or late last year, because it was, like I say, it was out of print for ages, and the price of it was through the roof, and understandably so. It's very sought after in the underground. But I've been a fan of this album for years. I had to put up with it on things like Spotify for the longest time. Not Spotify, sorry, YouTube. It's not on Spotify. The Strappado demos are on Spotify, but this is not. This is up on YouTube though, and if it's anywhere else, I'm not aware. But absolutely 100% chuffed when I finally got this. I bought this through, I think it was released through Triumph of Evil. No, sorry, Triumvirate of Evil. Beg your pardon. But I got it from Nuclear War Now, and I was so excited when it came. Finally turned up. I was, ooh, like a little boy on Christmas, and I spun it twice, and many times since. So really, really pleased with this. And a few years ago, I was in a bidding war on eBay for an LP version of this, and I think I'd put my bid up to like 50 quid or something, and I was like, can't believe I'm going to get this. There's not much time to go. And the next day it came up and it was on something like, I think it was like 270, and I was like, well, that's that pipe dream over with. But yes, Slaughter Strappado. If you haven't heard it, make it happen. It won't be for everybody, but for those of you who will like this, I reckon you'll absolutely love it. And for those of you who are already aware of it, just state in the comments just how important this record is. It's absolutely fantastic. Less than half an hour. Great songs that are all straight to the point. You know, they've all got very sort of controversial sort of lyrics. You know, there's songs of like soul rape. You know, there's foul language everywhere. You know, they stick it to the man, and just, I mean, they've got something on there called "Fuck of Death." You know, "Tyrant of Hell." This the usual sort of thing you could expect from the first wave extreme metal. You know, they're all like, you know, Venom fans and whatnot, so they all take on from it. Well, I assume they're Venom fans and like Hellhammer and whatnot. Could be wrong, but I think it's a safe assumption. What do you reckon? But yes, get on this. Slaughter Strappado. Absolutely fantastic record. Absolute essential to check out. And yeah, just listen to it, and hearing is believing. Okay, the record speaks for itself. So get on it. So that's a 10 from me. And yeah, stay tuned for my final part that's coming up next in my top 50 albums, part 10 of 10. And as much as I've enjoyed doing the list, I'm glad it's coming to an end because whew, even now I'm looking at my CD collection, my tapes, my LPs, and thinking there is so much more albums I could squeeze into that top 50, this included, you know. But for the sake of doing the videos and stuff, you know, it's just a difficult one. Maybe I'll revisit it in a year and be like, yeah, this one and all, and this one. Because like I mentioned in the past video, there's probably like 400 releases in my top 50 albums. And that's just albums. We're not including compilations, EPs, demos, you know, special bootlegs, live albums or anything like that. Just straight up studio releases. So here comes the final part, and I'll be mentioning my all-time favourite album last, which may surprise some of you, may not surprise any of you, but you know, enough of the clickbait nonsense. We don't do that around here, I like to think, for the most part. So support the underground and don't eat yellow snow.